At 80, I've learned many lessons, some the hard way. But one decision still weighs heavily on me: moving into a nursing home. At first it seemed right. My family meant well. They said I'd have care, comfort, and peace of mind. I believed them. But once inside, I realized the truth. Life there was nothing like what I imagined. Everything changes: your routines, your independence, even your sense of self. People assume it's the safe choice, the easier path. But it's not just about safety. It's about the quality of life, and sometimes the loss of things you didn't know mattered so much. If you're considering this step, for yourself or someone you love, I urge you to listen to what I wish someone had told me. There are 7 things I've come to understand, and they might just change the way you see this decision. Because once you move in, getting out isn't easy. And sometimes you can't get back what you've left behind. Stay with me. These words might be exactly what someone you care about needs to hear before making a life-changing choice. Let's begin. Number 1. Losing my privacy. One of the unexpected things no one really warned me about when I moved into the nursing home was just how much of my privacy I would have to give up. Now, let me be clear, I was never someone who needed to lock every door or live in complete solitude. I enjoyed company, I appreciated help when needed, but I also valued my personal space. I valued moments of quiet, of solitude, of being able to close my door and know that the next few minutes, or hours, belonged to me. At home, privacy was something I could count on. If I wanted to take a nap in the middle of the day, I did. If I wanted to sit in the bath a little longer, no one knocked. I could change clothes in my bedroom, keep certain drawers to myself, and hold on to little rituals that were just mine, from the way I got ready in the morning to how I liked to end my day in silence with a book. In the nursing home, that changed almost immediately. Staff meant well. They were kind, they were doing their jobs. But the reality is, when you live in a facility like this, your space is no longer truly your own. People come in and out of your room, often without much warning. Nurses, aides, maintenance workers, even fellow residents at times. They knock, yes, but it's usually while they're already entering. I remember one morning, still in my robe, brushing my hair at the mirror, when the door opened and a nurse came in to bring my medication. She wasn't rude. She was just doing her job. But I felt exposed, like even the simple act of preparing for the day wasn't mine anymore. There's very little space that belongs just to you. You may share a room. You may not have control over when someone enters your space. Your medical needs, your routines, even your thoughts and feelings, all of it becomes part of someone else's schedule, someone else's chart, someone else's protocol. There's a subtle but constant awareness that you are being observed. Not watched in a cruel way, just monitored, managed, cared for. But still, seen in moments you wish could be private. And slowly that takes a toll. Because privacy isn't just about having a room to yourself. It's about dignity. It's about feeling like your body, your time, your thoughts are still your own. When that starts to fade, it's easy to feel like you are fading with it. If you're considering a nursing home, I encourage you to think honestly about how much privacy matters to you. Are you prepared to share more of yourself, physically, emotionally, and personally, than you ever have before? It's not an easy thing to give up. And once it's gone, it's hard to reclaim. Number 2. Feeling forgotten. One of the quietest, most painful truths about moving into a nursing home is this: the world outside keeps going, and too often it moves on without you. When I first arrived, my heart was still full of hope. My daughter hugged me tightly and promised she'd be by every week. My grandchildren smiled, saying they'd visit on weekends just like before. And for a while it was true. The first few weeks were filled with warmth, familiar voices, laughter, the comfort of knowing I still mattered in someone's daily life. But as the seasons changed, so did the rhythm of their visits. Phone calls began to replace in-person chats. "Sorry, Mom, it's just been a hectic week." My daughter would say that lovingly, and I believed her. My grandchildren, once full of stories and hugs, became more caught up in school, in jobs, in the swirl of growing up. It wasn't anyone's fault. It's just how life works. People get busy. Priorities shift. And when you're not there in the middle of it all, it's easy for others to assume you're okay, even when you're not. Holidays especially carried a quiet ache. I'd get promises, "We'll be there Christmas morning," or "Save me a seat for Thanksgiving lunch." But somehow plans would change. A snowstorm, a delayed flight, a last-minute obligation. And just like that, I'd be sitting in the common room with a paper napkin in my lap, watching other residents stare at the front door, each of us silently hoping today would be the day someone remembered us. Let me be clear, it's not that my family stopped loving me. I know they care. I know they think of me. But when you're no longer part of the everyday picture, your presence starts to fade from view, not out of malice but out of momentum. Life moves fast out there, and inside time feels slower and lonelier. I remember one evening in particular. I was sitting by the window holding my phone, staring at my son's name on the screen. My finger hovered over the call button, but I hesitated. I didn't want to seem needy. I didn't want to burden him with guilt or make him feel obligated. I didn't want to be that call, the one that reminds someone that you're still here, waiting quietly. So I put the phone down. And in that stillness it hit me, this was my life now. Watching days pass, watching others leave after visits, watching the phone stay silent, and wondering if I'd been quietly left behind. If you're considering moving into a nursing home or helping a loved one make that choice, I ask you, truly gently, to reflect on this. Are you prepared for the loneliness that comes not from neglect, but from absence? Because even when your family loves you deeply, being out of sight can so easily become out of mind. Not because they don't care, but because life simply doesn't stop moving. So if this resonates with you, if you've ever felt this kind of quiet missing, leave a comment below with the number 2. It lets me know you're here, that you're listening, and perhaps most importantly, that you haven't forgotten yourself. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do so now. There's so much more to share, hard truths, gentle wisdom, and the kind of companionship that reminds us we are not alone. Let's keep going. Number 3. Letting go of my voice. If there's one more truth I've come to see clearly, maybe the hardest of all, it's this. In a nursing home, it's easy to stop speaking up. Not just with your words, but with your spirit. When I first moved in, I still had things to say. Opinions, preferences, stories, all the little ways we express who we are. I still spoke up when something didn't feel right or when I wanted to do things differently. But over time, I found myself going quieter. I stopped requesting the tea I liked and simply accepted what was poured. I nodded when asked how I was doing, even if I wasn't doing well. I said, "It's fine," more than I said, "It matters." And that's the thing no one warns you about. When you live in a place designed to meet basic needs, it's easy to stop voicing your deeper ones. You don't want to be difficult. You don't want to cause extra work. You don't want to be seen as needy. So you shrink little by little until the people around you think silence means peace, when really it might mean resignation. I've met so many others here who carry beautiful stories, unique wisdom, and memories that could light up a room, but they've grown quiet too. They've been told what time to eat, when to sleep, what to wear, and slowly that begins to shape how you see yourself. Like your voice no longer carries weight. Like your preferences are too much trouble. Like being agreeable is safer than being authentic. But let me tell you, your voice still matters. Your feelings, your choices, your identity, they're not small things. They are who you are. And no matter where you live, no matter your age or your health, you deserve to be heard. If I could go back, I'd remind myself this every day. Speak up. Ask for what you need. Share your truth. Tell your story. Because the moment we stop using our voice, we risk losing not only our say, but our sense of self. So if you're considering moving into a nursing home or helping a loved one do so, ask yourself, will there be room for your voice? Will you still feel free to be you? Because life is not just about comfort or care, it's about connection, expression, and the courage to keep saying, I'm still here. Number 4. Losing more independence than expected. If I had to name the most painful realization after moving into a nursing home, it wouldn't be the small room or the unfamiliar faces. It wouldn't even be the fixed meal times or the fluorescent lighting. No, the hardest part was understanding, slowly and deeply, that I had lost something far more precious, my independence. Before I moved in, life was mine to shape. I woke when I pleased. I chose what to eat, when to eat, and how to spend the quiet hours of my day. I could sit out on my porch and listen to the birds, or curl up with a novel in my favorite chair by the window, sunlight warming my knees. I could cook an old family recipe just because I missed the smell of it. Every small decision, from what socks to wear to whether I felt like tea or coffee, belonged to me. But that changed. Inside the nursing home, everything was dictated by a schedule. Not mine, theirs. Breakfast was served at 7:30 sharp, even if I wasn't hungry. The lights were turned off at 9 p.m. ready or not. Wanting to go outside for a walk? That required waiting, for permission for someone to be available, for the system to make space for my needs. And some days that space just didn't come. Even the simplest decisions, what to wear, what to read, where to sit, began to feel like privileges rather than rights. It crept up on me slowly but steadily, the quiet erosion of choice. I still remember my first week. I woke up in a bed that felt foreign, the sheets too stiff, the room too quiet. I reached for the book I'd been enjoying at home only to realize it wasn't there. Neither was my chair. Neither were my slippers, my teapot, or the scent of cinnamon from the candle I used to light in the evenings. All those small comforts I'd spent a lifetime gathering, gone. In their place were beige walls, a hospital-style bed, and a stillness that didn't soothe. It chilled. That was the moment it hit me. I was no longer in charge of my own life. The hardest part? Once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You don't lose it all at once. It slips away piece by piece until one day you stop asking. You stop resisting. You start saying okay to meals you didn't choose, and you stop looking out the window because you know you won't be walking out it. You adapt, not because you want to, but because you have to. And in the adapting, you begin to disappear. So if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, or helping someone else make that decision, I gently ask you to consider this. Are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life feel truly yours? Because those freedoms, the choice to sit outside in the breeze, to read your favorite poem before sleep, to linger over coffee just a little longer, those are the things you'll miss the most. And once they're gone, no amount of comfort or care can replace them. If this message touches something in you, please comment with the number 4 below. It means a lot to know that these reflections are reaching you, helping you prepare or simply feel understood. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe. This space is about honesty, wisdom, and community, a place where you're never just a name on a list but a voice that matters. Let's keep going gently and together. Number 5. Declining health faster than expected. Before I moved into a nursing home, I was doing fairly well for my age. No, I wasn't hiking mountains or jogging through parks, but I was steady on my feet. I could cook my own meals, take a walk around the block, even bend down to tend the garden on good days. I had routines, small but meaningful, that kept my body moving and my spirit engaged. Stretching in the morning, walking to the mailbox, a stroll down the grocery aisle, choosing apples one by one. They may have seemed ordinary, but those moments were quietly keeping me strong. But when I moved into the nursing home, everything changed, and not in the way I expected. At first, I welcomed the convenience. Meals were brought to me hot and ready. I didn't have to stand by the stove or wash a single dish. If I dropped something or needed help, I just pressed a button. Kind, capable staff would appear within minutes. It was comforting in a way. But what I didn't realize was that this new ease was slowly taking something from me, my physical resilience. The less I moved, the less I could move. Without even noticing it, I sat more. I stood less. My legs, once sturdy and willing, began to stiffen. Getting up from a chair became a slow, careful task. A simple stretch felt like a strain. The muscles I had worked quietly to maintain for years were disappearing, faster than I could have imagined. And it wasn't just happening to me. I watched it unfold in others too. People who had arrived walking proudly under their own power were soon being wheeled to meals. I saw neighbors who used to chat in the hallway become breathless after a few steps. The more help we received, the more dependent we became. The easier things were made, the less we used our strength. And slowly but surely that strength faded. I remember Alice, a bright, witty woman of 81. When she first moved in, she walked laps around the facility each day. "I'm not slowing down," she used to laugh, "just because I've got a few more candles on my cake." But months passed. Her walks became shorter, then less frequent. One day I saw her in a wheelchair. Her eyes met mine and she said softly, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And I knew exactly what she meant. Because in this setting, where everything is designed to be effortless, it's easy to forget that effort is what keeps us alive. Movement isn't just about independence. It's about survival. When you stop using your body, it starts to give up on you. Not out of punishment, but out of disuse. If I could go back, I would have fought harder to keep moving. I would have stretched even when I didn't feel like it. I would have taken those small walks even if it meant pacing the hallway. I would have said, "No thank you, I've got it," more often just to keep myself in motion. So if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, I ask you to consider this. Will you still have the motivation to move when everything is set up to make life effortless? Because the truth is, the moment you slow down, it becomes harder, much harder, to get back up. And once strength slips away, reclaiming it is a steep uphill climb. Number 6. Losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I believed I was simply changing my address, swapping one place to live for another. What I didn't realize was that I was also letting go of something much deeper. My reason for waking up each day. Back home, my days had rhythm and meaning. I wasn't running marathons or climbing mountains, but I had my own small universe to tend to, and it mattered. I watered the plants in the morning. I brewed my coffee just the way I liked it, then wiped down the counter with a sense of quiet pride. I folded laundry, fed the birds outside my window, jotted notes in my journal. These weren't chores. They were little threads in the fabric of a meaningful life. They reminded me I was still needed, even if only by a houseplant or a kettle. But when I entered the nursing home, those tiny threads began to unravel. Meals were served, not made. Rooms were cleaned, not cared for. The plants in the hallways were tended to by staff, and none of them knew how often I used to talk to mine. My hands, once busy, now had nothing to reach for. My days, once full of choice and movement, stretched out like long hallways with no clear destination. At first, I told myself this would be a welcome change. A break. Now you can just rest, I said. No more chores. No more pressure. But as the weeks went on, something shifted. The restfulness began to feel like emptiness. The absence of responsibility began to feel like the absence of purpose. And I saw it in others too. There was a gentleman named George, 84 years old, sharp mind, kind heart. He had been a carpenter all his life. At home, he was always building something. Shelves for the grandkids, birdhouses for the yard, little repairs around the house. His hands told the story of a life well worked. But here, there were no tools, no workbench, no wood shavings or nails to hammer. I watched as George began to fade, not physically at first, but emotionally. One afternoon, he turned to me, his hands resting quiet in his lap, and said, "I feel useless." I knew exactly what he meant. Because when you no longer have something to care for, something to contribute, life can begin to feel hollow. The mind slows down. The heart drifts. And the body, once full of purpose, starts to sit still, as if waiting for something that never quite arrives. In that space, it's easy to lose your sense of who you are. So if you're considering a nursing home, either for yourself or for someone you love, I gently ask you this. What gives your life meaning? What small routines, quiet joys, or purposeful acts light that inner spark? Because once you move into a place where many of those things are done for you, finding a new sense of purpose isn't as simple as filling time. It's not about passing the hours. It's about holding tightly, sometimes fiercely, to the things that still make you feel alive. And those things are worth fighting for. If this message resonates with you, if you felt this slow fade or seen it in someone you love, please comment with the number 4 below. It lets me know you're here, that this conversation is making a difference. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so. Your support helps us keep creating honest, helpful content for people just like you. People who are searching for truth, perspective, and the strength to face these choices with open eyes and full hearts. Now let's move forward, together. Number 7. It's hard to leave once you're in. When I first made the decision to move into a nursing home, I told myself it wasn't forever. I saw it as a temporary step, just until I felt stronger, just until things at home became more manageable. I thought of it like a pause, not a permanent stop. But what I didn't understand, what no one really tells you, is how difficult it becomes to leave once you're in. At first, everything feels new and temporary. You might keep your house or apartment just in case. You tell friends you'll reassess in a few months. But over time, the life you left behind starts to shrink in the rearview mirror, not because you choose it, but because the systems in place aren't built to help you go back. They're built to keep you safe where you are. Once you settle in, the idea of leaving becomes complicated, not only emotionally but practically. Your medications are managed by staff. Your meals are scheduled. Your insurance might now be tied to your placement. You may no longer have the energy or strength to live alone again. And if your home was sold or your belongings were given away, the path back to independence isn't just uphill, it's nearly invisible. I remember one resident, Ruth, a fiercely independent woman in her late 70s. She had moved in after a fall, telling everyone, "Just until I'm back on my feet." But weeks became months. Her routines changed. Her strength faded. Her family, though loving, had already adjusted to her absence. One day she said to me, "I didn't realize coming here meant I might never leave." And she was right. Because the truth is, leaving a nursing home isn't like checking out of a hotel. It's more like stepping off a train that only goes one direction. Once you're on it, turning around isn't as easy as packing a bag and heading home. That's why I share this, not to frighten you but to offer the perspective I wish someone had given me. If you're thinking of moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, is this truly your last best option, or just the most convenient one right now? Because once you're in, getting out isn't impossible, but it is hard. Much harder than most people think. And the longer you stay, the more the world you once lived in starts to feel like someone else's life. So if you're watching this and still weighing your decision, please, take your time. Consider every option. Talk to people who've walked this road. Because this step, more than any other, is not just a change in address. It can become a change in everything. Final thoughts. If you've made it to this point, thank you. Truly. Sharing these 7 regrets hasn't been easy. They come from real moments, real losses, and lessons I learned not from a book, but from living through them. My only hope is that by sharing my story, you feel a little more prepared, a little more seen, and a little less alone. Because the decision to move into a nursing home is not just about safety or care, it's about your identity, your dignity, your sense of meaning. And those things deserve to be protected no matter your age. If you're at this crossroads, I urge you to think carefully, to ask deeper questions, and to listen not only to the voices around you, but to the quiet voice within you. And if you're supporting a loved one in making this choice, remember, what they need most isn't just a room or a routine. They need to still feel alive. If this video gave you something to think about, a moment of truth, comfort, or clarity, please let me know by commenting below. Which of these 7 regrets spoke to you the most? Or perhaps you've walked this path yourself. I'd be honored to hear your story. Comment the word "still here" if you made it all the way through. Because you are. And that matters. If you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you won't miss new videos, especially those designed to bring insight, compassion, and connection to our elder years. This channel isn't about fear. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose, to reflect, and to live with intention no matter where we are in life's journey. Thank you for being here. Take good care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. Until next time, you are not forgotten. You are not alone.